showcase this enormous rock that's been used for about 30 years here as a billboard. Yeah. It's going to be for Paul today.
The Paul his friends and neighbors are rallying around is 16-year-old Paul Richards.
Straight A student, didn't do drugs at all, nothing like that. Played basketball, sports, everybody looks at him and looks at a good kid.
But Paul's parents had him seized,
just to disappear in the middle of the night. Alarmed us all.
And whisked off to the program in Samoa more than a year ago.
Can you guys see it?
Best friend, and I've known him since kindergarten.
Like another member of our family, and we took him on our family trip.
Miss him.
Oh, yes, head back.
And now these outraged neighbors in Snohomish, Washington are fighting to get him out.
Come home soon.
I'm Lori Berg, and I've known Paul for about 3 years. I met him when he came to babysit my children.
Spearheading the effort,
A wonderful kid. He was wonderful around my children.
Lori Berg.
How do you, as a neighbor, presume to know this kid better than his own parents do?
I don't know that I presume to know him better, but I do believe that he had rights.
And she fears for Paul's safety.
What is all this stuff?
She's been gathering information about the Samoa program
What I found on my search for Paul's situation.
and talking to kids who've been there.
Everything the program does breaks the kids into submission.
Kids like 17-year-old Stan Gould,
I was covered with boils while I was over there.
whose story convinced her to act.
I was not beaten. I saw kids beat. I heard the screams of kids who were being beat.
He said it was known that the staff possessed a cattle prod, a taser, handcuffs, leg cuffs, and a straitjacket. He says he has recurring nightmares. He says he
We all, as neighbors, have the right to watch out for the welfare of each other, just for starters, and that includes kids.
Snohomish County Child Advocate Bill France says the danger is that parents who have their kids seized and sent away may be violating their child's civil rights.
There has to be a sanctioned authority that goes through certain steps to be sure that it's not just somebody doing it because they're angry or afraid.
28 rules that he specifically had to go by.
Jerry Smith, the father of Paul's best friend, thinks that the real problem is not Paul, but his overly strict parents.
He needed permission to turn the TV on, permission to use a computer, permission to use the phone.
Smith does admit that Paul was capable of losing his temper.
Paul broke a windshield out of a car and just out of anger, frustration, walked out the door, picked the bat up and busted the windshield.
They have injected themselves into our lives, and that kind of behavior is unconscionable.
Bruce Richards is an engineer. His wife Karen an occupational therapist. They don't deny Paul had rules. They say he needed them.
They think they know him very well.
That's exactly the point. They think they know him very well, but they haven't lived with him his entire life. They haven't seen and experienced the other side of him.
Did you feel like you'd completely lost control of him?
Definitely.
The Richards say they had no choice but to turn Paul over to a program they knew was tough.
We felt as though if we didn't take some kind of intervention that the next one might be an irrevocable event.
So they signed a contract like this one, which even authorized the use of force if necessary. A revised contract today leaves out the unpleasant specifics.
When I signed that part of the contract, I was thankful to see that there was some way that the staff could be protected. I can tell you he was capable of inflicting physical harm as well as property damage.
We have good social reasons to be concerned that parents are abusing their kids if they're willing to sign a contract which gives other people the right to abuse their kids. That's abusive on the face of it, unless we know for sure that there's oversight and that those people aren't abusing the kid, or that the kid got there by some kind of due process.
I can assure you that we have not made an inappropriate decision for Paul.
I don't see your van.
Not so, says Lori Berg.
We all decided to sign on as petitioners. You need to sign right there.
She's filed a petition to take custody away from his parents, to make Paul a ward of the state so he can come home.
What basis do you cite in here to justify a move as drastic as that?
They've refused to parent him, although they have an ability to do so. That he's been abused or neglected.
Today, the neighbors will meet the Richards in court for a hearing on the alleged abuse.
When I see the Richards, I'm sure that there will be anger in their eyes towards me, and I'm sorry for that.
Just minutes later,
I love my son and I miss him a lot.
the judge rules there are, quote, no sufficient credible facts, unquote, that Paul is in danger. She dismisses the entire case,
I'm very sad for Paul.
leaving the worried neighbors with only their determination to somehow fight on.
Samoa. Just how long he'll be there, no one knows.
Hang on. Please hang on.
In Snohomish County, Washington, Laurie Berg and her neighbors are still trying to get Paul Richards out of Samoa.
I miss home. I'll be there soon enough.
But the Richards insist their son is doing just fine and sent us this edited tape as proof.
It's fun here, It's sunny.
They are hoping Paul graduates the program before his 18th birthday next June.
I've actually accomplished a lot.